Hello, I'm Scott Garlock, and I'm a member of the trombone section of the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra. Today in this video, we're going to share ways to improve and make more efficient the use of air on your wind instrument. First, let's talk about lung capacity. A sedentary human being sitting in a math class or sitting at a computer is using somewhere around 17% of their lung capacity. When we play, there's occasions where a player of a wind instrument needs to get over 90% of their capacity. We can never really truly get to 100% capacity because the lungs are balloons and they hit stuff. So when you get past 90%, it's the part, and you've all done this, I'm sure, where you fill up entirely and you go, which is completely not a useful way to use your air when you're trying to play a musical instrument. In many ways, playing a musical instrument asks the body to do rather incredible and rather unnatural things. And it's important, as best we can handle, to try to do all aspects of tone production in a manner that apes the body's natural processes. Much of what we attempt and need to do on our instruments belie the hardwiring of our central nervous system. So it's important for us to try and find ways and activities involving the air to do so in the most natural and relaxed way possible. And this is really often contrary to how we generally naturally take in our air when we play our instruments. Usually, we raise our shoulders and heave our torso. And this makes for great theater, right? I mean, you've seen trumpet players trying to play high and they'll lean back and they'll go, but it's not part of the body's natural processes for inhalation. And if this were the case, we'd all have six-pack abs because we're doing abdominal crunches all day long just to simply stay alive. So where we naturally breathe. Next time you go to bed, lay on your back and feel where the air naturally goes. It's low, it's at your navel and not in the upper torso at all. And the reason for this is that there's just simply too much in the way in the upper torso. We've got heart, liver, rib cage. There's just more stuff in the way, whereas down by the navel, there's nothing in the way. It's where the lungs are balloons and they naturally want to expand where there's the least amount of inhibition to do so. So how to get that best breath in? The brain, when it's shy of oxygen, makes us yawn. And we yawn because it's the most efficient way for us to get our air in quickly and in a relaxed fashion. So try a couple of good sort of Darth Vader yawning sort of breaths. And in another video that we put out, CJO's Teresa May talked about putting your hand up to your face and feeling the air as you inhale. So try this, just put that hand, kind of perpendicular to your nose and just get a sort of a breath in. And what we find when we use these sort of processes is that we take our air in a little bit more slowly, and again, it's lower and more deeply than we typically do when we play. And again, moving our upper torso and shoulders in this fashion doesn't really help with being relaxed. We do get rid of our air quickly when we breathe up here because it's uncomfortable for the body, but it's not efficient with regards to getting full inhalation. So how to do this when we play? First off, if you're a brass player, you already know that your upper lip is the one that gets tired, right? In all my years of trying to play the trombone, I've had my lower lip blow out maybe 2 times. It's just not something that happened. The lower lip is built to support and to aim the airstream, whereas the upper lip does the bulk of the vibrating. So why not get off your upper lip when you breathe? And I know if you're a saxophone player, you have a different process. The upper lip is usually anchored on the mouthpiece, but you can still get that sort of breath in. So how to do that? By getting off the upper lip, and when you first start this, it's going to feel like you're eating the mouthpiece, but thusly. And you'll find also that your upper lip dries out a little bit faster until you get used to doing this. And this is a better way of doing it than what we typically do. Usually when we play. You'll find people trying to breathe through their nose, and this is very tension ridden. Moreover, you cannot get in much air quickly, so it's not a very efficient way to do it. The other way that we do is to breathe in air through the corners of our mouth, leaving the embouchure anchored in the mouthpiece, doing this. And again, that's a little more tension ridden, and again, it's not as efficient as using that Darth Vader sort of breath. So when you are trying to play high notes on a brass instrument, filling up below and then filling up high and concentrating the air stream up high is a very efficient thing to do to get up the upper register. I would recommend, if you want to visualize this, watch Bobby Shue. He's a fabulous trumpet player. And he's also very heavy set, so you can really see the mechanics of how his body works when he takes in a giant breath of air and then it shifts upwards and then it explodes out of his instrument. And he's also done a lot of writing and thought on breathing. So he's a great expert to look on that way. Now, when we exhale, the difference between playing on a tuba or a French horn or lead trumpet is completely a night and day difference because of the diameter and the resistance of the pipes that we're playing into. If you're a tuba player, a baritone sax player, or a trombone player, you're using much more of the exhalation like a than you would if you're playing really, really high. The bass trombone, tuba, baritone sax is using really warm and slow and humid air like you would use to fog up glasses. Whereas the lead trumpet player, anybody playing high in a brass instrument or a French horn, is using an exhalation that is really refined and fast. Air is super dry and quick. It's like pushing air through a cocktail straw. And actually, those are two really good exercises depending on your instrument to try to do. Fog up the glasses, but keep it really, really steady and slow, just of a and use those intercostal muscles down low to push the air out. And then if you're trying to play higher, if you're on an instrument that requires that, using a cocktail straw does ape rather effectively the resistance of your instrument. And again, keep it relaxed, keep it steady. And the more tension that you have, the more difficult it will be able to play high and to use that air effectively. If you'd like to read up more on air, perhaps the best text is by a guy named Arnold Jacobs. It's called Song and Wind. He was the tubist for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and they were widely regarded as the best brass section in symphonic history. And Arnold Jacobs, widely regarded as one of the best brass teachers that ever lived. So he was one of the first to kind of study the physiognomy of breathing, and it's a great place to go if you want to find out more about this. So thanks for your time and good luck, and we hope to see you at a CJO concert sometime in the future.